Hey, this is Cameron, and welcome to the practice log. Alright, well, we got a lot of stuff to do today, so let's go ahead and jump into it, shall we? I have some new stuff that I'm working on. Brandon gave me a soar etude. I haven't looked at it much. I did practice it yesterday. I kind of got down some of the hard bits. Oh, it's one of Segovia's soar etudes, the first one. But yeah, I'm gonna be working on that. I'm also working on the adagio for him. We worked on that in the last lesson. Last night, God, I practiced a lot yesterday, because I did this stuff in the morning, and I worked on the Morel Sonatina like all last night. I might post a short from that. The Morel Sonatina, I've been learning that for a long time, but it's actually getting like pretty comfy, especially the first movement. The third movement's a little bit of an enigma to me still, but I'm gonna try to get that up to speed. Yeah, that's what I'm working on. What are you guys working on? Nice. Very good. Okay. How about with the rest of our chair time, we go into a comment question and I answer some questions for you? Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Here's a question. This one relates to me. I'll find a way to pitch my guitar lessons to you with this. So this one comes from Universimer. How's it going? Friend of the channel. And you said, can you talk about how good you can get learning classical guitar with no teacher? Yeah, if you didn't know my opinion already, you can't get anywhere without a teacher. Ever. No, it's not like that. I was actually talking about this with one of my new students the other day. They were talking about their experience with being self-taught, but going through like a course. But an online course, one where they don't have a teacher. And they found themselves struggling, of course, and that's why they came to me. Really just to give them some guidance, right? And keep in mind, like, I'm saying this, and I'm also going to say, like, hey, if you want some guidance, I'll sell you some lessons. I'm also in guitar lesson. I went through a period of, like, 4 years or so where I wasn't in guitar lessons for the first time since I was, like, 11. And yeah, I don't think I'll ever personally do that again. I think it's just always a good idea to just pursue, even if it's not classical, like, even if I get to a place in classical where I really do feel like I don't need a teacher for guidance, I would probably want to maybe like branch out to other genres or something, like jazz. I've always wanted to get really good at jazz. I'm sure a lot of us do, right? I just think that's a good investment, like investing in your musicianship. But yeah, he said that he was really struggling with that, and I think personally, some of the issues that you'll have as a self-taught guitarist, or even if you're following some sort of like instruction that's just like without a teacher, like it's just information like in a book, like this same thing can apply to like trying to read a textbook or something. If you're new to a subject, I think that pacing yourself is a really challenging thing. Even if the course tells you like this is the first week's worth of stuff, actually stopping yourself from moving on to the next course or like moving ahead, I feel like it's tempting and kind of hard not to do that. You're in a class, for example, like you know the exam date and all the information that's going to be on the exam. You are not wasting any of your brain's bandwidth on studying for the next exam when you already have this one exam coming up. It just makes it easier to pace yourself, I think. And that's why I think class structures are more effective than just learning on your own with no structure, or even having structure but you're the only one who's managing it. It's hard to look at your practice from an outside perspective when you're in the practice, you know? It's kind of like, I've talked about this too. You guys know that I like taught a bunch of students when I was in my early 20s. I mentioned this in a comment recently because somebody asked, because there's that whole thing about like how can you afford these like expensive guitars. It's because I saved a lot of money when I was younger, which this is related, I promise. I'm gonna pull this back in. During that time when I was teaching 60 to 80 students, I lived in a house with 3 roommates. It was like a slum. It was crazy. Every time I vacuumed, the carpets would just smell. That outside like living area, it looked legit like a hoarder's situation. Like and it wasn't my stuff. Like my stuff was in my room. I remember I walked into that room for the first time and it was just dirty carpets, dirty everything. It's just a tiny little room. I shared a bathroom with like 3 people, so that thing got a lot of use. Like it was just disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. But with teaching that much, I think the rent came out to like 5% of my income for the month. So I was saving like most of my income, which was amazing. But when my dad helped me move at the end of that, he was like, this place should be torn down. This place should be condemned. What is this? And you know what? At the time, I didn't even really realize how bad it was. Looking back on it, it's easy for me to say like, oh yeah, like that was a really bad living situation. That was like dirty. Like I think I had like rashes from living there for a while. Like it was just so dirty. I slept on the floor too. Just a real freaking guitar loser. I mean, I was legit, guys. I promise you, I was a legit guitar loser. I have my own apartment now. In the moment, it was hard for me to see that situation. It's hard to make real judgments about what's going on in your life now, unless you're really introspective. But you have to stay like perfectly introspective, and then once you're unable to do that, or you have like a bad day, it's easy to get derailed. I think that's probably why people do therapy too. Guitar lessons kind of like therapy, but just for your guitar playing. Am I making any sense right now? So my point is, you can get so far being self-taught, and that's determined by a few factors. First, how good are you at pacing yourself? If you can become a really good guitarist from being self-taught, you'd probably be a really good guitar teacher too, because you're essentially teaching yourself. It's sort of like someone trying to teach themselves math without any reference or textbook. Like, obviously it's possible because math evolved throughout human culture, right? But it's just way easier to just have some source material to actually reference. But again, like there are like anomaly examples. Tommy Emmanuel apparently was self-taught, which I'm skeptical on what even self-taught means to a lot of people. I was self-taught for the first like 2 years of my guitar playing, but really my dad had a guitar and he had a bunch of tabs, and I would read the tabs, which like reading tabs is like intuitive, right? But like he would help me out like in places where if I had like a question or something. He knew more than I did at the time. What is self-taught really, and like how much help are you allowed to accept before you're no longer self-taught? Yeah, like I don't know. It's a little fuzzy. I think when people claim self-taught, there's this sort of air to it where there's like pride. It's like you're better than everyone else for being self-taught. And you know, that's a narrative that I've been attacking a lot ever since the beginning of this, because I just think it's really stupid. Like I feel like I see this a lot with like really amazing musicians. You know, you can just go outside and like listen to the birds and the wind, and like it's all music, and like that's my inspiration. And yeah, it might be now after becoming a seasoned musician, but that's not a way to teach someone, and that's not how you actually learned. You're a master now. You can make associations from random stuff. A beginner can't do that though. If you were hell-bent on being self-taught, I would just suggest that you maybe find a curriculum to learn from and really try your hardest to stick to the weekly plan, and don't just like do a week a day and have this like fantasy in your mind that you're going to go through an 8-week program in 8 days or something like that. Just try to stick to it and have discipline and practice each thing every day. And sometimes that's the path of people, because not everybody wants to take the most efficient guitar path. Guitar to many people represents a lot of things. Like for me, it represents a passion, it represents my job. I mean, it encompasses a lot of my life. But for some people, it's just a passion, and it's not their job at all. And I know that when I'm doing new things, sometimes I don't want to be shown. Sometimes I'm kind of a little offended if somebody's just like walking me through a step. Here's an example. Like my girlfriend, she talks about wanting to go skydiving. The idea of skydiving to me, it seems cool, like the actual thrill of it. But what really makes it not fun for me is the idea of having to listen to an instructor just all day on this plane, and then strapping to an instructor, and then they're the one calling the shots and pulling the parachute, and it's like I'm just getting a tour of the sky. When I think of skydiving, I want to be in charge, like flying the plane, jumping out of it. I'm just alone up there, and it's just all me. But you know what? The only way to get there is to actually just become a skydiving instructor and get like however many like dives you need to get to be like certified, which, because that's not a passion for me, I'm not willing to do that. But I totally get how people can feel that way about guitar playing. They just want to be left alone and just let me figure it out. I don't care if it's slower. I don't care if it's dangerous. I just want to do it on my own because I don't want to listen to somebody. I spend my whole freaking life listening to other people, like my boss or whoever. I don't want to listen to another person. I just want to play guitar. And if that's you, just find the course, be really disciplined with it, and maybe every once in a while, and this can especially be an issue if you don't have a lot of money to like spend on something like this, just every few months get a guitar lesson. It could be for me. I can't really accept like single lessons anymore, just because they take a lot of time to set up, because there are a lot of people that are going for weekly and bi-weekly slots that like a single slot just doesn't make sense for me to accept right now. But there are tons of guitar teachers out there. Look for classical teachers specifically, if classical is what you're interested in. And I'm sure a lot of them would be happy to just accept like one lesson, and that can provide you with pretty good guidance. If you want to be like the best skydiver and get all the information and do it safely and effectively, very optimally, and be managed so that any mistakes that you're making in your practice, they're corrected immediately so you don't fall into any of these traps that happen to people, getting a weekly or bi-weekly teacher could be really good. Honestly, for a beginner, I would prefer weekly, and then as you sort of get more advanced, bi-weekly is okay, especially for a working person. If you're just like no-lifing it, just do weekly then, if you're just going to practice all day, because then you'll be able to put enough time in to do it. But I think bi-weekly makes sense for like most adults. But weekly is better if you want like best results. If it's important to you like it is to me, that's a great use of money and time. Alright, well, I think I've yapped enough. Man, just a little bit about like the video. That Tommy Emmanuel video, huh? That one's popping off. It's at 10,000 views in the last 24 hours. You guys know I'm joking around. And you know what? That video got exactly what I wanted. New people who don't know who I am, who are seeing me and are just like, screw this guy. Tommy Emmanuel, I've been listening to him for the past 40 years. And who is this guy with the only negative video on Tommy Emmanuel on the internet? I'm sure that's not actually true. But I feel like I do it in a way that's still like, I keep it light here on Sore Hands. Usually my formula is I pick a gimmick that's kind of silly, like for example strings buzzing, and then I just way go overboard with it and just make a big deal about it. I've been seeing a lot of comments on this, like obviously with singer-songwriter stuff, steel string can make sense. With like jazz minutiae, or the hot club style jazz, obviously it makes sense there. Cuts through the track and stuff. I'm just a traditionalist. I'm just a purist, what can I say? And this one is directed to Valerie Hartzell, who is a classical guitarist here on YouTube, who posts just performance videos, by the way. So like an actual just classical guitarist. God bless you. You haven't sold your soul like I have. You should know, I've gotten many comments and emails from people saying that they study whatever kind of genre of music they study, and classical guitar always seemed like this holier than thou, like sort of unapproachable genre. Kind of like how a lot of people feel about jazz too, where it's like, where do you even begin, and am I doing it right? Like, can you even start playing this if you're over the age of 6? Will there ever be hope for you? And I've heard from a lot of people that say that they have been inspired to start playing classical guitar because of the way I sort of approach things and how much of a degenerate I clearly am. And you know, that feels pretty good. You can make the argument that I'm like ruining these people too, but I don't think I am personally. I think that classical is a fine genre to add into your arsenal, especially if you weren't open to it before. I think you'll find that it will add to your playing. So, you know, I approach it in an interesting way. It is kind of ridiculous, though. Of course, the opinions are rooted in some kind of truth, but I'm blowing it way out of proportion. That's the whole thing with Sore Hands. Whenever you're watching a reaction video, it's a comedy show. I don't think I'm making classical guitarists look like snobs. I think they already kind of look like snobs. If anything, I'm hurting the snobbish reputation of classical guitarists because I'm like literally a clown. So, you know, don't worry about it. Anywho, I need to get to practicing, so let's go ahead and jump into the chair, shall we? So I'm going to work on that first Sore Segovia Etude, and I think it'll be interesting if I play what I have for you so far today after practicing, then have my lesson with Brandon, and then see where it is after that. And I'll give you some of the insights that I receive about that piece. So, you're going to get this before the lesson, we'll see where it's at. Let me practice it first, so I'll see you on the other side. I think I'm done practicing the Estudio for today, so I'm just going to play like a little more than half of it, and I'm going to try to phrase it in a way that isn't stupid. Alright, check this out. And that was about half. So, this is just the beginning for this one. I think that this is a piece that I can play, like, at a really, really high level. I mean, just compared to the other stuff that I'm working on. Yeah, like, I want to work on more stuff like this just so I can really focus on, like, every aspect of the piece. Because I've spent the last year and a half or so, like, basically all the time you've seen me on this YouTube channel, working on just some of the hardest music, And I've gotten it to a place where I play a lot of that hard music, like, decently well. But it's undeniable. There are just these little, like, things, like, inconsistencies in it that approaching cleaning it up is... I feel that I can liken it to trying to clean up an oil spill in an ocean, where it's just so much stuff. And sure, like, the ocean is massive. It's mostly water. It's mostly non-oil water. But even still, and that's not, like, a commentary on how oil spills affect the ocean or anything. I'm just saying, like, proportionally. It is still mostly ocean. It's all what it was. But there is this dirtiness in it. How do you even begin to clean something like that? But this piece, I feel it's more like a little duck that you pull out of the oil spill and then you wash it, and you can just kind of save its life and make it clean, and it's like, all right, the duck is clean. That was easy. But, it's still a process. We still got to pick all the plastic out of its beak and stuff and do all that. It's still going to be some work, but it's a much easier process than cleaning an entire ocean. So that's how I feel about this, and I kind of need those easy wins right now. Like, can I play this piece at a high professional level, at least in studio? We're in Etude land right now, and Etude land's a good place to be. I need to be there. I haven't been there enough. Yeah, that pretty much covers this one. So let's go ahead and make our way to the outro. I'll see you there. Hey, well, if you made it this far, be sure to subscribe and leave a like. And hey, want some guitar lessons? Slots are basically full, but I have Friday. If you're available Friday morning EST between like 10 and 1 p.m. I know that I included 1 p.m. in Friday morning. It's morning to us. That's pretty much the time I have available. Other than that, I try to teach only 3 students a day, like Monday through Thursday, like hour each. I don't do 30-minute lessons anymore, so only hour, but I can do bi-weekly, which equates to like 30-minute weekly lessons in price, or also preferably hour weekly. But right now all those slots are basically full. But if you email me, I can put you on a waiting list and you'll be first to know when slots are available. They'll generally be between 4 and 7 p.m. Eastern Standard, like up to 8 p.m. like if we really want to push it. So feel free to reach out about that. The waiting list isn't that long. There's only like a few people on it. But definitely reach out if you want lessons and you're available Friday. We'll see if it makes more sense. I have Friday morning available, like mainly for international students. There's a lot of demand to just have it in the afternoon, like all the other days, like 4 through 7 or like 4 through 8 or whatever. Just let me know. Maybe the international students will have to stay up a little later then, or get up earlier. Yeah, and of course, if you want to just pay for goods instead of services, head on down over to Rootin's Delight, pick up some merch, check out my Dead podcast, check out everything else, check out all my other videos, give it a like, smash the bell. I'll see you in the next one.